my name's Bijan Nyakon. I'm a pre-sale simulation consultant with Siemens Digital Industries now that acquired Altair Engineering last year. So now we're officially legally part of Siemens. Um, and today I'm going to mostly talk about extensions in HyperMesh, how they work, and especially how you can use them to organize your custom scripts into a nice sort of user-friendly menu within HyperMesh. So that way you don't have to be managing your script files and just dragging and dropping your scripts manually into HyperMesh to run them. So I'll show you guys how the extensions work, and then I'll show you guys how you can create a custom extension for like a custom scripts that you might already have. Okay, so let's go ahead, jump into it. Let me open up HyperMesh here. So FYI, extensions were added in a HyperMesh starting with version 2022.1. So any version after that, you'll be able to add these extensions. And so to add an extension, you'll go File up here in the top left, Extensions, and you'll notice there's a couple already sort of like default extensions in there that you can turn on. And the extension demo is a really helpful one for sort of learning a little bit more about how extensions work. So if you click on Details, it'll have a link to all of the files that build out that extension. Yeah, this extension. So if you click on that, it'll open up this file with all of these extension documents. So in my opinion, this demo is a really good giving you a good comprehensive overview of how all the different types of extensions work. But I'm going to go through a more simple example for you guys here today for the sake of time. But yeah, if you want to kind of see all of the different types of extensions, you can, here, let me come out here. To turn on an extension, you just hit this little radio dialog button here. And it'll update your GUI, your interface accordingly. So these are the different kinds of extensions you can have or types. So you can have a toolbar, you can have a ribbon, and you can have drop downs. So all of these, including the naming, the grouping, even the icons, and what each of them do can all be customized by you. And all of this can be, or these extensions can be shared with certain folks on your team. It can also even be included as default in a sort of company-wide installation of HyperMesh. So you can set that up through environment variables through your company's IT so that, for example, like everyone within a certain company would have that company's custom scripts as an extension. So we can certainly help out with that, if that's of interest to any of you guys. Okay, so for an example, and I should say, I'll also share with you guys some already defined extensions that I think y'all will find useful. So I'll link to those and kind of show you some of those at the end of the demo. Okay, but for this little example, let me start with this example. I'll just look at adding a couple custom scripts to a toolbar as basically just buttons on a toolbar. So typically I recommend, and this is what I did here, is I grabbed and just copied over those files from the demo extension. So you can do that, or from any of the extensions that I'll share with you guys here today. But generally, I look at least if I'm just adding a toolbar here, I look at three text-based files. First one being the extension XML. So I'm going to open up that in Notepad++ here. That should be closed. So we'll open up that one. We'll open up the initiation script. And then I'll also open up, I have an XML for my toolbar as well. It doesn't matter, of course, the order that you format these files, but I like to kind of start with the extension XML, then toolbar, and then the initiation script. So let's just take a look at kind of what each of these files do, how they work a little bit. I won't have time to go through every individual little option in each of these files that build up the extensions, but at least I'll walk through enough to give you guys a good basis of how it works and how you can edit your own. Okay, so yeah, in the extension XML, this is basically just bringing everything together in your extension. So it's where you would define your title. Basically, these entries up here are just what gets shown whenever you go to the basically just what gets shown here, right? So if I open that back up, I'm going to name this. So I'm going to create a script that I can use, or excuse me, create an extension that I can use scripts for importing points and nodes. So maybe I'll say import CSV as points or nodes. Okay. And then for our resources, yeah, we're going to call to our images folder. So that's what will define out your icons for your buttons and things like that. So you can use any of the preset like images in that demo, that extension demo for your images, or you can even just use a custom image that you create. So I'll show you how you can do that. So this is going to be version 1.0, and I'll put my name here. The description. So, I won't get into all this, but, importing points and nodes via CSV, something like that. So again, this is all just going to show up whenever you're loading the extension into HyperMesh. And then our initiation script I'll discuss in a second, but this is what actually invokes the script programs or the specific scripts that I want to run with each click here. And then this is going to be for profile is going to be for HyperMesh, but we support or extensions are supported for HyperMesh, Hyperview, Hypergraph, really any sort of HyperMesh desktop application. And then I'm going to have just a toolbar in this case. So if you wanted, you could have a toolbar and like that extension demo, you could have a toolbar and drop downs and a ribbon if you'd like. Okay, so that's about all we need to define out for the extension XML. And then we'll go into the toolbar XML. So this is sort of bringing together basically the programs with the button clicks on the toolbar. So in this case, I have these two items. I'll just do, for starters, I'll start with one script. But this is how it would look if you wanted to have, say, two buttons here. But I'll start with one. And so kind of quickly going through these, this action tag is just basically a tag is what it is, right? So this is just defining, all right, this is basically the ID for this operation. So in this operation, I'll be invoking a specific script. So I'm going to name this, toolbar for points, and I'm going to invoke my script for importing points via CSV. And then the tooltip is the little message that it gives you whenever you hover your cursor over the button in the extension in HyperMesh. So in this case, I'm going to say import points. Okay. And then for the image, you can use, like I mentioned, one of those like sort of preset images from the extension demo. So if I don't think I have that open anymore. So yeah, if we go back to that one more time, details here. So if we open that up, images, there's a lot of images in here that I typically like to use because if you look at any one of these, they'll have highlighted versions so that as you hover your cursor over them, it'll highlight. So it just works a little bit better. But again, you can use your own image. So like for the points, what I could maybe do just to be fun with it, I could create a point. Oh, no, not a free node. Create a point. Okay. And then maybe just screenshot this point and save it as an image. So again, this is optional. You can just use one of those preset images, like just a play button icon if you want. But if you want to get a little fancy with it, you can utilize some of these. I realize I should have created a copy for this, but that's fine. And I can name this point. And so if we go back here now, I can just call to that if I can spell, point.pmg image. Okay. And so then the command.tcl, actually before I update that, let me also just update this tag here. Okay. So I'm going to update this command in a second with the command from the script that I want to call to. But what I've built out here is basically just saying, all right, so this is my ID for this button that's going to run this command. Okay. And then down here, it's just defining, all right, I'm going to have my first toolbar. It's going to be on the left side of my GUI. And then the first button is going to call to that ID, that action tag, basically. Okay. So make sure this action tag ID is unique for each button that you want. Okay. And you could have the toolbar be on the right. You can undock the toolbar. You could have multiple toolbars, so you can undock them and redock them separately. So a lot of customization you can do with that. Okay, and then for this TCL command procedure, first I'm going to go to the initiation script. So the initiation script is basically what's calling to or running the script operations. So if you want, you could just directly input a TCL script or TCL commands into your procedure here directly in the initiation script. But in this case, since I already have a predefined script that I want to call to, I'm going to call to this file path instead. And then we'll also need to invoke the namespace for the procedure that we're going to use in the script. So let me open up one of the scripts that I want to use here. Let's start with the one for points. So this is the main procedure that the script is using, this multi-trans create points from file. So that's going to be the procedure that I invoke there. So let me copy that, go to the toolbar, paste it right there. All right, we'll save that. Then we'll go to the initiation script. And then we'll also put that, and in this case, like I said, I'm just going to do one button, so maybe I'll just remove this one and paste in that procedure and command here. Okay, and then I'll also need to invoke the multi-trans namespace as well. Okay, so now I'm invoking that procedure from my script, but now I just need to keep the initiation script, basically just tell it where this procedure is, right? Because it doesn't know where this script is. So that's what we can use this HWT source file path for. So if you're gonna just directly, maybe just paste your TCL commands into the initiation script, then you don't need to invoke this file path. But in this case, we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here, copy my source file path, and then paste. Oh, excuse me. We'll want to paste that just in the file path. There we go. And you want to make sure that you use these forward slashes instead of backslashes. So if you paste your file path in as backslashes, you can always just do, I believe it's edit, or is it search replace? Search replace. And you can just replace backslashes with forward slashes. Okay, so just kind of coming through here, we're invoking our namespace for our procedure, we're invoking the procedure in the command itself, the main command, the main like initial command from that TCL. And I should say the extensions also work for Python scripts as well, but in this case, we're just looking at TCL. So that should be, let me make sure I save everything, but that should be all that I need here, really. Got invoking in my toolbar. Points, make sure all my file paths are correct. Make sure that point is actually saved there. Yeah. So we should be all set to go. Worst case scenario, if anything doesn't go smooth, I do have a working version I can just load up. Because sometimes, I've gotten stuck on some of these extensions where I just misplace a single letter and it it causes me like 30 minutes of anguish to find it and figure it out. But let's see if we can get that to work okay. So again, to load in, or I don't think I've showed this really. So to load in a new extension, we'll go File, Extensions. So you have these, again, preset extensions, but to add in a new one, we'll go Add Extension. And the folder you want to call to is this folder here, the folder that has the extension XML. So that's the file path you want to call to. Let me let me copy this file path, paste it, and select folder. So you see there, it picks up, my name that I did for the author version, description, etc. Okay, and so I turn on the little, the little load function, and there we go. Now we have our icon. So you see, as I hover my cursor over the icon, it gives me my, what was it, the preview. And then if I select it, there we go. Now it's prompting me to import my CSV of points. Nice, and there we go. So now I got my handy dandy little point button up here that I can use for importing points via CSV. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, there's a few other ones that you guys can find. Let me check if there's okay, no questions for now. But yeah, there's some other really useful ones that you guys can download from our Altair community if you go to our Altair Exchange. So I'll send you guys. Maybe I'll post these in the chat as well as sending them to you guys sort of after the fact. But there's a couple good ones. Let me load in some of those. So if I go extensions, add. So there's one for some post-processing utilities that's kind of useful. Allows you to generate screenshots of like whatever contour type or vector plot type you want for a bunch of load cases at once. But I've noticed it needs to be retested for newer versions, so just be cautious of that. The visualization toolbar is one I've recommended to a lot of folks. People tend to like this one. So if I open up that, turn that on. So yeah, like a lot of people, when they converted from the classic interface to the new interface, were kind of annoyed that you had a lot of these had 2 button clicks now for like detailed visualization and element shading and stuff like that. So with the extension toolbar, it just breaks out all of those options. So now it's just a single button click. Maybe if I load up another model, it's easier to see that. So yeah, like now I just got a single button click for some of these visualization options, which a lot of people enjoy. So that one's nice. I also have, for some of you who've already seen my spiel on extensions, I've given this demo quite a few times over using basically HyperWorks commands, the HyperWorks commands window to automate your post-processing like preferences. So your options for your contour and vector plots and things like that. How you can automate that and add it as an extension button click. Let me bring up, I won't show the full video, of course, but let me just show a few clips of that if I can find it. Here we go. Let me drag this over. So I'll send you guys the link to this video as well as the files that I use here. But the idea is using HyperWorks commands to create the end goals to have these 2 buttons. So one that would apply displacements and one that would apply stresses. Yeah, let's see that in action. So clicking one button, check it out, it applies displacement, contour, and a vector plot. And then another button that does stress contours and a tensor plot. So I think that one's kind of cool. I'll send you guys the links to all these things. And then in addition to those, there's also a helpful Altair community post from my colleague, Ben Buchanan, that I'll send to you guys as well, where he really goes into detail on all the different types of extensions, toolbars, ribbons, drop downs, things like that. So I think this is also very helpful for learning extensions a little better. All right, cool. Yeah, let me go ahead. I'll send you guys all of this in a follow-up email, but while I got you guys here, I'll start dropping the links to this and to all these in the chat, and I'll give you guys a few minutes to ask any questions if y'all have any about extensions. If not, if you don't have any questions, feel free to go about the rest of your day. But as always, it's lovely talking with you guys and going through these demos with y'all. Doesn't seem to be pasting in the proper. Here, let's see if this works. Oh, no, I don't think that link works. Yeah, I'll just send you guys the links in a follow-up email after this. And just a final FYI before I let you guys go is that up to this point, we've been uploading these recordings onto our Altair YouTube channel. However, we're now going to start uploading videos onto the Siemens software YouTube channel. So we're going to work on creating a playlist, an equivalent playlist for this Aero webinar series on the Siemens YouTube channel. But for right now, they're just going to go on the Siemens YouTube channel as individual videos that we will link to on the website for this series. So just keep an eye on the website, and any updates that we make to where we post these recordings will get updated there. Okay. So yeah, sorry about the technical audio issues at the beginning of the call, but hopefully this was all helpful for you guys. If not, let us know, reach out to us. Let us know if we can help more. But yeah, I'll give you guys maybe a couple minutes if anyone has any questions. If not, it was lovely talking to you guys.